Welcome to my channel, The World of Science Fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
The wreckage of the transport burns under a single emergency floodlight, throwing dust and sparks into the barren night. The crash site is a wound carved into alien soil, twisted metal and shattered glass gleaming like broken teeth in the harsh light. The air reeks of scorched synthetics and something else, a metallic alien smell that catches in the throat. Ethan Vance drags himself through the smoke, coughing, blinking back the sting of sweat and blood. His technician's uniform hangs in tatters, scorched in places where emergency systems failed. The transport had been their last hope, a desperate evacuation attempt gone catastrophically wrong. He stumbles over debris, hands bleeding from a dozen small cuts, and freezes when he hears it, a weak, rattling breath. Kyra! He spots her then, half buried beneath a collapsed bulkhead. Her blue skin appears almost black in the shadows, her angular features slack. Indigo blood pools beneath her, gleaming wetly in the floodlight's glare. Ethan scrambles to her, ignoring the shooting pain in his ribs. He braces his shoulder against the metal crushing her, and heaves with everything he has. Muscles scream, tendons threaten to tear. The bulkhead shifts, just enough. He hooks his arms beneath Kira's shoulders and pulls. Her body slides free, limp and alarmingly light. Indigo blood trails across his sleeves as he drags her from the wreckage. "Come on," he whispers. "Come on, breathe." He makes it 20 meters from the burning transport before his legs give out. He lowers her to the ground, fingers searching desperately for a pulse at her throat. He finds it, faint but there. A noise makes him freeze, not the crackle of flames. Something else. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. The whisper of weapons being drawn. Shadows move at the edge of the floodlight's reach. Shapes emerge from the darkness. Warriors in brutal, segmented armor that seems to absorb the light. Their helmets are elongated, ridged, expressionless except for narrow eye slits that glow a dull amber. They move with predatory grace, weapons raised. Not Kira's clan, the enemy, the ones who shot them down. The warriors fan out, encircling, taking their time, savoring the kill. Kira stirs beneath Ethan's hand. Her eyes flutter open, deep violet irises struggling to focus. She tries to rise but collapses back with a hiss of pain. Her hand gropes weakly at her side where her sword should be. That's when Ethan sees it. The sword has fallen a few feet away, an alien blade of porous, dark metal. Its hilt is wrapped in what looks like hardened sinew, weathered by countless hands. The blade itself seems to drink in the light, neither reflecting nor gleaming. Ethan knows nothing of its meaning, only that he is unarmed and the enemy is closing in. One of the warriors steps forward, visor lifting to reveal a face much like Kira's, but with paler skin and eyes filled with contemptuous triumph. The warrior raises a weapon, some kind of energy spear, its tip humming with barely contained power. "No!" Kira gasps, struggling to rise. The warrior aims at her heart. Ethan lunges for the sword. His fingers close around the hilt. Agony explodes through his hand, up his arm, into his chest. The sword, it burns. Not with heat, but with something worse. Something that feels like it's stripping the flesh from his bones, rewriting the very structure of his cells. A hum rattles the air, deep and resonant. The sword blazes with a cold, harsh light that emanates not from the blade, but from where it connects with Ethan's skin. Ethan screams but does not release it. Cannot release it. His muscles have locked around the hilt as though fused to it. He staggers upright, sword blazing in his ruined hand, tears streaming down his face from the pain. The enemy halts. The lead warrior's expression shifts from triumph to confusion, then to dawning horror. The energy spear wavers. "Impossible," the warrior hisses in a language Ethan somehow understands, though he's never heard it before. Terror floods their faces. One by one, they drop their weapons. They back away, then turn and flee, disappearing into the darkness beyond the floodlight. Ethan stands, panting, unable to process what just happened. The pain in his hand has subsided to a deep, pulsing ache. He looks down. The skin from his palm to mid-forearm is charred black and cracked, revealing pulses of red beneath. But the sword, it still clings to him, as if reluctant to part. The distant sound of engines makes him turn. More transports approaching. Kira's warriors arrive, her clan, coming to rescue their chief. They spill from their vessels, weapons drawn, expressions fierce, until they see Ethan. One by one they freeze, their eyes fixed not on his face but on the sword in his ruined hand. One whispers in horror, "The crippled chief." The words spread like contagion through their ranks. Weapons clatter to the ground. Even her people back away from him in fear. Ethan, confused and in pain, holds the sword that has marked him forever. He looks to Kira, who has managed to sit up, her expression a complex mixture of shock, anger, and something else he can't identify. "What have you done?" she whispers. The cave is barely large enough for the handful of survivors who made it to this shelter, a natural formation hastily fortified with scavenged technology. Rough-hewn stone walls loom in the dimness, lit only by a dying power cell that casts everything in a sickly blue glow. Ethan sits on a makeshift crate, jaw clenched tight against the pain. The sword lies beside him, dormant now but still refusing to release him entirely. The hilt seems fused to his palm, the blade an extension of his arm. Every movement sends fresh waves of agony through his ravaged hand. Kyra rips a strip of cloth from her armor, the fabric a deep indigo color that seems to shift and move in the dim light. Her movements are quick, efficient, practiced. A warrior used to field medicine, but her voice is venom as she approaches. "You've doomed us all." Ethan winces as she takes his injured hand. "I was saving your life." "You desecrated the cog's talon," she spits, examining the damage. The burned flesh of his hand has taken on a strange texture, almost like the porous metal of the blade itself. "Our clan's sword burns the unworthy. It accepts only a chief, or one who claims union." She pauses, eyes flashing dangerously. "By touching it, you made yourself my mate and their leader." Ethan stares in disbelief. "That's insane. It is law," she fires back, pulling the binding tight around his ruined flesh. "You're so sure about everything," Ethan says through clenched teeth. "Where I come from, we say people who explain too much don't believe themselves." Her violet eyes narrow. "Where I come from, we say humans talk when scared and die still talking." She jerks the binding tighter. "And they saw you scream in pain. They see not a leader, but a cripple." His hand throbs with each heartbeat. "What does that mean, cripple chief?" Kira's expression hardens. "It means they expect you to die. Soon, the sword rejects you, even as it binds you. Such a chief is cursed. The clan will scatter rather than follow you." She binds his wound with the cloth torn from her armor. Indigo blood stains it, her blood, from a cut on her arm. To Ethan, it's just first aid. But the warriors watching from the shadows see something else. A marriage vow. A sacred intimacy. Kira notices their stares too late. She curses under her breath. "What now?" Ethan asks, sensing the shift in the room. "Now it's sealed," she murmurs. "My blood binds you. Their chief to a cripple mate." The whispers spread through the cave. Some of the warriors touch their weapons, expressions dark. Others simply stare in disbelief, or what might be pity. One warrior, taller than the others with elaborately carved armor and an expression of barely controlled rage, turns and stalks from the cave. Kira watches him go, her face tightening. "Tarek," she says, so quietly Ethan almost misses it. There's history there in that name. Old wounds. "What happens next?" Ethan asks, flexing his fingers experimentally. The pain is still there, but duller now, manageable. The sword has gone quiet, though the connection remains. Kira's eyes meet his, hard as stone. "We survive, if we can. The enemy knows where we crashed. They'll be back, with more warriors this time." "Those warriors ran when they saw this," Ethan says, nodding to the sword. "Why?" A muscle works in Kira's jaw. The talon is sacred, ancient. Its bonding to a non-clan member hasn't happened in generations. She stands gathering the remaining medical supplies, and never to a human. "So I'm what? An abomination to them?" "You're a sign," she says, not looking at him, "but whether of doom or salvation remains to be seen." She turns to leave, then pauses. "Rest. Try not to touch anything else you don't understand." As she walks away, the weight of the stares from the other warriors feels like a physical pressure on Ethan's skin. The trap of tradition tightens around him. A human technician cast adrift in alien politics he barely comprehends. With a sword he cannot release and a title he never wanted. Outside the cave, the sun begins to set on a hostile world. Night settles over the temporary camp. The warriors have established a defensive perimeter. Energy barriers projected from hastily erected pylons form a shimmering dome around the cave entrance. Beyond them, the alien landscape stretches in all directions, a vast expanse of rocky terrain and twisted, thorny vegetation under twin moons. Ethan sits near the cave mouth, staring at his bandaged hand. The cloth binding is stained with both his blood and Kira's now, mingled into a strange purple-brown. The sword lays across his lap, its weight both physical and psychological. He's discovered he can set it down, but never more than arm's length away. Try to move further, and pain lances through his hand, compelling him to retrieve it. Like being leashed to a lion, he mutters to himself. Kyra approaches, her movements silent despite her armor. She's been conferring with the remaining warriors, a group that grows smaller by the hour as some choose to slip away rather than follow a cripple chief. How many have we lost? Ethan asks without looking up. Enough, she replies, her voice clipped. 15 remain. Not enough if the enemy returns in force. And they will. Yes. She settles beside him, keeping a careful distance. Aware of the watching eyes, the whispers. The defense grid is failing. The generator was damaged in the crash. Ethan nods. He'd examined the setup earlier, recognized the technology as similar to systems he'd worked with before. Hybrid tech, part alien, part human, cobbled together from whatever could be salvaged. I might be able to fix it. Tomorrow when there's light. Tomorrow may be too late. There's no fear in her voice, just cold assessment. A sound cuts through the night, a chittering, scraping noise from beyond the barrier. Ethan tenses. What is that? Kira's already on her feet, sword drawn. Her blade is similar to the talon but smaller, less ornate. Skulkers, predators, they hunt at night. More chittering. Shapes move in the darkness beyond the barrier. Low-slung, six-legged creatures with elongated heads and eyes that glow like burning coals. They pace along the edge of the energy field, testing for weaknesses. The warriors react instantly, forming a defensive line, weapons raised. But Ethan can see the fear in their postures, the tension. They no longer believe in their own success. A sharp crack splits the air. One of the defense pylons sparks, flickers. The barrier wavers. The grid is failing, Kira says, voice tight. We need to... Another crack. The energy field fluctuates, creating a momentary gap. A skulker lunges through, all gnashing, teeth and claws. A warrior intercepts it, blade slicing through alien flesh. But more are coming. The defense grid is dying. Ethan doesn't hesitate. Ignoring the searing pain in his hand, he races to the main generator. A bulky unit half buried in the rocky soil near the cave entrance. Sparks shower his face as he drops to his knees beside it, the sword awkwardly clutched in his left hand while he works with his right. He rips open the access panel. Inside is a nightmare of alien technology merged with human components, thermal converters, power cells, circuit arrays he only half understands. But the problem is clear enough. A primary coupling has fractured, interrupting the power flow. The sounds of combat intensify behind him. A warrior screams. Kira shouts orders, rallying her people, but their morale is shattered. They fight without hope. Ethan's fingers, blackened with burns and covered in dried blood, work swiftly. He bypasses the fried circuits, bridging them with scavenged wire from the panel itself. His technician's training takes over, identifying problems, finding solutions, improvising with available materials. A skulker breaks through the failing defensive line, charging straight for him. Ethan grabs the sword instinctively. Pain flares anew, but duller this time, as if the blade is becoming accustomed to him. He swings awkwardly, catching the creature across his face. It reels back, chittering in pain. Stay back, he snarls, knowing the creature can't understand, but driven by instinct. He returns to the generator, making the final connections. A spark jumps between exposed wires, singeing his fingers, but he doesn't flinch. One last connection. The barrier roars back to life, stronger than before. The energy field expands outward in a pulse that catches several skulkers mid-leap. They screech and burn, bodies contorting before falling to the ground, smoking. Silence falls over the camp. The warriors stare, first at the revitalized barrier, then at Ethan. Their expressions shift from fear to confusion, then to something harder to define. One mutters, "He cannot wield a blade, but he wields fire itself." Ethan rises unsteadily to his feet, the sword hanging awkwardly at his side. His clothes are singed, his face streaked with dirt and sweat, his hands raw. But the barrier holds, humming with renewed strength. Kira approaches, her own blade still drawn, indigo blood dripping from a fresh cut on her shoulder. She studies him for a long moment, then reaches for the strip of armor cloth binding his hand. It has come loose in the chaos. She takes it, stained with both their blood, and winds it tighter around his ruined hand. Her eyes lock with his, a truce, a bond, witnessed by all. She looks at him as though she sees a fear in him he's been hiding from himself. Not the fear of death or pain, but something deeper, the fear of belonging, of responsibility, of becoming something he never wanted to be. "The enemy will have heard the skulkers," she says, voice low. "They'll come at dawn." "Then we'd better be ready," Ethan replies, matching her tone. Something shifts in her expression, the faintest suggestion of respect. But when she speaks, her voice remains hard. "If you cannot fight with a blade, you are a liability." "I have other skills," Ethan says, nodding toward the repair generator. "Skills that may not be enough." She glances at the depleted ranks of warriors. "Not against what comes next." "Then we'll improvise," Ethan says with more confidence than he feels. "That's what humans do best." Kira's lips twitch. Not quite a smile, but close. "And die. Humans also do that exceptionally well." She turns to address her warriors, leaving Ethan with the weight of the sword in his hand, and a growing sense that there's more to this situation than a simple accident of fate. Morning. Smoke from the night's fires drifts above the camp, thin tendrils reaching toward a sky the color of bruised flesh. The barrier hums steadily, but beyond it lies only deceptive peace. No sign yet of the enemy, but they will come. Everyone knows it. The warriors prepare in silence, checking weapons, adjusting armor, exchanging meaningful glances. Their ranks have thinned further overnight. Only 12 remain, including Kira. Ethan has spent the hours of darkness working, reinforcing the barrier, jury-rigging alarms from salvaged components, creating primitive traps from whatever materials are at hand. His burned hand throbs constantly, but the pain has become almost familiar now. The sword rests against his leg as he works, never far from reach. Kira finds him adjusting the sensitivity on a motion detector. She looks haggard, dark circles beneath her violet eyes suggesting she hasn't slept, but her posture remains rigid, unbending. "Your defenses," she says, gesturing to his work. "Will they hold?" Ethan shrugs. "Against skulkers, yes. Against your enemies, depends how badly they want us dead." "They want the talent," she corrects, "and now they want you." "Me? Why?" "The sword chose you." Her eyes darken. "That makes you significant." A shadow falls across them. Tarek stands there, his expression thunderous. His gaze locks on Ethan, on the cloth binding, on Kira's closeness to him. His jaw tightens with barely contained rage. "The clan gathers," Tarek announces, ignoring Ethan completely. "We must decide our path before the enemy arrives." Kira nods, rising to her feet. But as she turns to follow Tarek, he catches her arm, his voice dropping to a murmur that Ethan can still hear. "The sword desecrated." Kira's voice is tight. "The Talon has chosen." He releases her wrist, voice dropping. "You know what they whisper? That strip of armor? Your blood binds him." "I know." No emotion shows on her face. "He stole my place." A muscle works in Tarek's jaw. Kira meets his gaze unflinching. "The sword chose." "I did not." "He is weakness," Tarek growls. "Denounce him." "I will kill him cleanly. The shame will be erased." Before she can answer, Tarek steps past her, into the circle of waiting warriors. His voice thunders across the camp. "This human is a curse. He defiled the Talon and shamed our clan. I, Tarek, challenge him for the right to lead." The warriors stir, weapons shifting in anticipation. Tarek turns to face Ethan, hand moving to the hilt of his blade. "Rise, outsider," he demands. "Face the trial of combat." Ethan slowly gets to his feet, the sword heavy in his damaged hand. He has no combat training, no understanding of their martial traditions. Against Tarek, he would last seconds at most. The crowd surges closer. "Trial! Trial!" they chant, weapons raised. The execution is set. Kira steps between them, her posture rigid. "The Talon has chosen," she states, voice carrying. "Challenge the sword's choice, and you challenge ancient law." Tarek's lip curls. Ancient law also says a chief who cannot wield the clan's sword is no chief at all. He points at Ethan's bandaged hand. He burns. He suffers. The sword rejects him, even as it binds him. Murmurs of agreement ripple through the warriors. Kira's argument falters as tradition turns against her. "The law of trial supersedes all," Tarek presses. "Let combat decide. If your mate is worthy, let him prove it with steel." Ethan looks to Kira, a silent question. "How do I get out of this?" Her expression gives nothing away, but her eyes hold a calculation, a weighing of options. Before she can respond, an alarm shrieks, one of Ethan's makeshift sensors. All heads turn. Beyond the barrier, shapes move. The enemy has arrived. "We have no time for this," Kira snaps, drawing her blade. "Defensive positions. Now!" The warriors hesitate, caught between the impending attack and the unresolved challenge. Tarek seizes the moment. "See how he cowers behind you," he says to Kira, but loudly enough for all to hear. "A true chief would lead the defense, not hide behind a woman." Ethan feels the trap closing. If he backs down, he loses whatever tenuous authority the sword has granted him. If he fights, he dies. If he tries to help defend the camp, he'll likely get in the way. A technician, not a warrior. Kira's eyes meet his, and in them he sees not pity, but expectation. She waits for his decision. The alarm wails again, more urgent. Time is running out. The enemy advances through the morning mist, their forms taking shape as they near the barrier. 24 warriors in that same brutal armor, weapons raised. Their movements are disciplined, practiced. They spread out, encircling the camp, probing for weaknesses. Inside the barrier, chaos threatens to erupt. The challenge hangs unresolved, the warriors divided between Tarek and their duty to defend. Ethan stands in the middle, the sword heavy in his hand, faced with an impossible choice. He takes a deep breath, then steps forward. His voice carries more confidence than he feels. "We fight the enemy first," he declares. "After that, if Tarek still wants to kill me, I won't stand in his way." Tarek sneers. "Convenient delay." "Practical priority," Ethan counters, gesturing toward the approaching force. "Unless you prefer to die at their hands instead of defending your people?" The words strike home. Several warriors nod in grudging agreement. Even Tarek cannot argue against defending the clan first. To do so would be to admit his personal vendetta matters more than their survival. "When this is over," Tarek says, voice low and dangerous, "I will take your head, outsider." "If we survive," Ethan replies, "you're welcome to try." The temporary truce established, the warriors move to defensive positions. Kira gives orders, positioning fighters where they can be most effective. Ethan returns to his makeshift control panel for the barrier, making final adjustments. The enemy halts just beyond the energy field. Their leader steps forward, the same warrior who had nearly killed Kira at the crash site. He removes his helmet, revealing features similar to Kira's but harsher, more angular. His skin is a paler blue, almost white, stretched tight over prominent bones. "Kyra, daughter of Malik," he calls, voice carrying easily across the barrier. "Surrender the Talon and the human who profanes it. Do this, and the rest may live." Kira steps to the edge of the barrier, head high. "Vexen, still fighting your cousin's wars?" The enemy leader, Vexen, smiles without humor. "A war you began when you stole the Talon and split the clan. A war that ends today." His gaze shifts to Ethan, and his expression hardens. "The human dies first. This is not negotiable." "The sword chose him," Kira replies. "Would you defy the Talon's will?" Vexen's laugh is bitter. "I see a cripple who cannot even hold the blade without pain. The prophecy speaks of strength, of unification. This creature is neither strong nor unifying." The prophecy is open to interpretation, Kira counters. Not anymore. Vexen raises a hand and his warriors ready their weapons. We attack in 1 minute. Surrender now, or die with dignity. He steps back, rejoining his forces. The countdown has begun. Kira returns to Ethan's side, her expression grim. The barrier won't hold against a concentrated assault. I know, Ethan admits. It was designed for wildlife, not warriors with energy weapons. Tarek joins them, his hostility temporarily set aside in the face of the greater threat. We are outnumbered. They have superior weapons. We will all die. Not necessarily, Ethan says, an idea forming. He points to the generator. If we overload the barrier emitters, we could create a feedback pulse. It won't kill them, but it might disable their weapons. Give us a fighting chance, Tarek scoffs. And destroy our only defense in the process? Suicide. No, Kira says slowly, understanding dawning. A tactical sacrifice. We lose the barrier but gain a momentary advantage. She looks at Ethan with new respect. It could work. It will fail, Tarek insists, and then we die. We're dead anyway if we do nothing, Ethan counters. At least this gives us a chance. The seconds tick down. Vexen's warriors move into attack formation, weapons charging with ominous hums. Do it, Kira decides, overruling Tarek's objections. How long? Ethan kneels by the generator. 30 seconds to reconfigure. Then I trigger the overload manually. That puts you directly in the blast zone, Kira warns. Ethan gives her a grim smile. I know, but someone has to stay to trigger it. Understanding passes between them. A sacrifice. Kira nods once, then turns to her warriors. Prepare to charge the moment the pulse hits. Target their leaders first. Tarek watches Ethan work, his expression unreadable. If you survive this, he says quietly, I will still kill you. But it will be a clean death, an honorable one. Thanks, Ethan replies dryly, not looking up from his work. That's comforting. The enemy begins their advance. Energy weapons power up, the air crackling with potential violence. Vexen shouts a command, and the first volley slams into the barrier. The energy field flickers, weakening under the assault. Ethan's fingers fly over the controls, rerouting power, bypassing safety measures, creating a feedback loop that will amplify the barrier's energy until it discharges in a single devastating pulse. The sword lies beside him, somehow seeming to pulse in time with his racing heart. Ready, he calls to Kira, who positions her warriors for the charge. Another volley hits the barrier. It wavers dangerously, sections beginning to fail. The enemy presses forward, sensing victory. Now, Kira shouts. Ethan slams his palm onto the final connection. Energy surges through the generator into the barrier emitters. The pain is immediate and overwhelming. Electricity coursing through his body, using him as a conduit. He screams but doesn't let go. The barrier flares blindingly bright, then expands outward in a concussive wave. It catches the enemy mid-charge, washing over them in a tide of raw energy. Weapons short out. Armor systems fail. Warriors drop to their knees, stunned, and then the barrier is gone. The camp lies exposed. Kira leads the charge, her warriors surging forward to engage the disoriented enemy. Steel meets steel as energy weapons fail, the battle devolving to blade against blade. Ethan lies stunned beside the smoking generator, every nerve ending on fire. The sword, the talon, pulses beside him, its rhythm matching his faltering heartbeat. He reaches for it weakly, fingers closing around the hilt. The pain is less now, almost familiar. The blade has accepted him, or he has adapted to it. He struggles to his feet, swaying, the sword heavy in his damaged hand. The battle rages around him, a chaotic melee of blades and bodies. Kira fights like a demon, her movements fluid and deadly. Tarek matches her in ferocity, cutting down enemy warriors with brutal efficiency. But the enemy outnumbers them. Already, some are recovering from the pulse, retrieving backup weapons, rejoining the fight. The advantage is slipping away. Vexen appears through the chaos, his eyes locked on Ethan. On the sword, he smiles, a predator scenting wounded prey, and advances. The human who would be chief, he mocks, drawing closer. Let's end this farce. Ethan raises the blade awkwardly. He has no training, no skill, barely enough strength to stand. Against Vexen, he has no chance. but he doesn't back away. Vexen attacks with blistering speed. Only instinct saves Ethan. He stumbles backward, the enemy blade missing his throat by inches. He swings the talon defensively, the movement clumsy but desperate. Vexen easily sidesteps, laughing. Pathetic, he spits, circling. This is who the talon chose. He strikes again. This time his blade catches Ethan's arm, drawing blood. The cut is shallow but painful. Ethan gasps, nearly dropping the sword. I will take your head, Vexen promises, and then the talon. Both trophies for my chief. He lunges a third time. Ethan manages to parry, the blades meeting with a screech of metal on metal. The impact jars his injured hand, sending fresh waves of agony up his arm. He staggers back, barely keeping his feet. Vexen presses his advantage, driving Ethan toward the cave entrance, away from the main battle, away from help. His attacks are measured now, toying with his prey, prolonging the inevitable. Ethan's back hits stone. Nowhere left to retreat. Vexen smiles, raising his blade for the killing stroke. A blur of motion. Kira appears, her blade intercepting Vexen's, saving Ethan's life by inches. She pushes Vexen back with a flurry of strikes, her technique impeccable, but her strength flagging. She's already wounded. Indigo blood staining her armor in several places. Run! She tells Ethan between clenched teeth. Into the cave. I'll hold him. No, Ethan says, raising the talon again, despite his exhaustion. Together. Something flickers in Kira's eyes. Surprise, respect, determination. She nods once, then turns back to face Vexen. Together they engage him. Kira with skill, Ethan with desperate tenacity. For a moment they push him back. But Vexen is fresh, unwounded, and skilled beyond either of them individually. He weathers their attacks, waiting for an opening. It comes when Ethan stumbles on loose rock. Vexen seizes the moment, driving his blade past Ethan's guard, aiming for his heart. Kira throws herself between them. The enemy blade takes her in the side. She gasps, stumbles, but her own strike lands simultaneously, a deep cut across Vexen's chest that sends him reeling back. Kira! Ethan catches her as she falls, the talon clattering to the ground beside them. Her blood, indigo, vibrant, alien, spills over his hands. Vexen recovers, clutching his wounded chest, his expression twisted with rage and triumph. How fitting, he snarls. She dies for a human who cannot even hold the talon properly. He moves forward to finish them both. Ethan reaches blindly for the sword, fingers closing around the hilt. The pain is different now. Not burning, but a cold, deep ache that resonates through his entire body. The sword feels lighter somehow, more balanced, more his. As Vexen raises his blade, Ethan brings the talon up in a desperate, instinctive motion. The swords meet, and Vexen's blade shatters. Fragments scatter across the rocky ground as Vexen stares in disbelief. The talon continues its arc, biting deep into Vexen's shoulder. He screams, falling to his knees. Ethan stands over him, the point of the sword at his throat. Yield, Ethan demands, voice rough with exhaustion and emotion. Vexen's eyes burn with hatred. Kill me. It changes nothing. The clan will never follow a human chief, especially not a crippled one. I don't want to lead your clan, Ethan says. I just want this fighting to stop. Around them, the battle has paused. Warriors from both sides watch the tableau. Ethan standing over the defeated Vexen, Kira bleeding but conscious at his feet, the talon gleaming in Ethan's ruined hand. A strange silence falls. The sword pulses once, a vibration that seems to pass through the air itself. Every warrior feels it, a resonance that speaks to something ancient in their blood. The sword has judged, someone whispers from the crowd. The phrase spreads, rippling through the gathered warriors of both sides. Vexen's people lower their weapons, one by one. They drop to their knees, heads bowed, not to Ethan, but to the talon itself. Ethan looks down at Kira, confused. What's happening? She struggles to sit up, one hand pressed to her bleeding side. The prophecy, she says, voice weak but clear enough to carry. When the talon chooses one from beyond the stars, clan shall battle clan until the unworthy are broken. I don't understand, Ethan says, the sword still leveled at Vexen's throat. You broke his blade, and Kira explains. The talon judged him unworthy. Vexen's expression twists with rage and despair. "Kill me," he demands again, "if you have any mercy." Before Ethan can respond, Tarek pushes through the crowd. His armor is spattered with enemy blood, his face grim with the aftermath of battle. He surveys the scene, eyes lingering on Kira's wound, on the talon in Ethan's hand, on Vexen kneeling in defeat. "The human spared your life," Tarek says to Vexen, voice flat. "Return to your chief. Tell him what happened here. Tell him the Talon has chosen." Vexen's eyes flash with hatred, but he nods once, a jerky, reluctant motion. Tarek gestures, and two of Kira's warriors haul Vexen to his feet. They escort him to the edge of the camp, where the few surviving members of his force await. Ethan lowers the sword, suddenly aware of how quiet the battlefield has become. The fighting has stopped entirely. Warriors from both sides stand in uneasy proximity, weapons lowered, watching him with expressions ranging from awe to fear to confusion. "We need to get you inside," he says to Kira, sheathing the talon at his belt. The motion comes naturally now, as if he's done it 1,000 times. "You're losing a lot of blood." She allows him to help her up, leaning heavily against him. "The clan," she says, eyes on her warriors. "They need direction." "Tarek," Ethan calls, making a split-second decision. "Secure the perimeter. Tend to the wounded. We'll regroup at sunrise." He expects resistance, challenge, but Tarek merely nods, turning to relay the orders. The warriors disperse, moving with new purpose. The conflict between Ethan and Tarek temporarily shelved in the aftermath of battle. Ethan guides Kira into the cave, to the small alcove that serves as their medical bay. The equipment is rudimentary: a field scanner, basic suture tools, synthetic bandages scavenged from the crash transport. Enough to keep her alive if the wound isn't too severe. "Let me see," he says, helping her remove the outer layer of her armor. The wound beneath is ugly, a deep puncture that seeps indigo blood, but the scanner shows no major organs damaged. Survivable, with proper treatment. He works methodically, cleaning the wound, applying a coagulant, preparing to suture. His hands are steady despite his exhaustion, his movements precise. "You fight like a technician," Kira says, watching him work. "Methodical, precise, ineffective." Despite the situation, Ethan laughs. "That was me at my best. You should see me on a bad day." "Yet you held the talon. You broke Vexen's blade." Her violet eyes search his face. "How?" Ethan shrugs, threading the suture needle. "No idea. Instinct, maybe. Desperation." He pauses. "Or maybe the sword really did help me somehow." "The talon is more than metal," Kira says. "It remembers. It chooses. It judges." She winces as the needle pierces her skin. "But it has never chosen a human before." "Lucky me," Ethan mutters, continuing his work. They fall silent as he completes the sutures, applies a synthetic seal, wraps the wound with clean bandages. When he's finished, Kira catches his wrist, the one attached to his burned hand. Her fingers trace the binding cloth, still stained with their mingled blood. "You had no right to touch the sword," she says, but the venom has gone from her voice. "Yet here we are." "Here we are," Ethan agrees. "What happens now?" "Now," Kira releases his wrist, leaning back against the wall of the cave. "Now we wait for dawn, and hope Vexen's chief doesn't send a larger force to finish what we started." "And what about—" Ethan gestures vaguely between them. "This whole chief mate situation?" A ghost of a smile touches Kira's lips. "That depends on whether you survive Tarek's challenge. It still stands, you know." "Great," Ethan sighs. "Something to look forward to." He rises to leave, but Kira catches his arm again. "Ethan," she says, his name sounding strange in her accent. "When the time comes, don't underestimate him. Tarek is the finest warrior in the clan. He will kill you if he can." "I know," Ethan says quietly. "But I can't run from this, can I?" She shakes her head. "No, not anymore." He leaves her to rest, stepping back into the main cavern. The wounded have been brought inside, laid out in rows along the walls. Warriors move among them, administering what aid they can. The atmosphere is subdued. They've survived, but at great cost, and tomorrow remains uncertain. Tarek stands at the cave entrance, silhouetted against the fading light of day. He turns as Ethan approaches, his expression unreadable. "Your chief will live," Ethan says without preamble. Tarek nods once. Good. The clan needs her strength. He studies Ethan for a long moment. And what of you, human? Did the battle answer your questions about the sword? Not really, Ethan admits. It felt different. Lighter. Almost like it was guiding my hand. The talon knows its purpose, Tarek says, even when its wielder does not. He looks down at Ethan's bandaged hand. Does it still burn? Ethan flexes his fingers experimentally. Yes, but less now. More like a connection than a rejection. Tarek's jaw tightens. Then the stories may be true. The prophecy. He turns back to the darkening landscape beyond the cave. I have spent my life training to lead this clan, to stand at Kira's side as her mate and protector. Then you arrived, touched what was forbidden, and took everything. I didn't ask for this, Ethan says. Few ask for their destiny, Tarek replies. It finds them regardless. He faces Ethan fully. At dawn we settle this. If you are truly chosen by the Talon, prove it. Defeat me in combat. And if I refuse, then you admit you are unworthy, and I kill you where you stand. Tarek's hand moves to the hilt of his sword. Choose now, human. Ethan feels the weight of the Talon at his hip, its presence almost alive against his skin. He straightens his spine, meeting Tarek's gaze. Dawn, he agrees, but not for the reasons you think. Not for leadership or tradition or whatever claim you think you have on Kira. Then why, Tarek demands. Because these people deserve better than endless fighting, Ethan says. They deserve leaders who care more about their survival than about ancient laws and personal vendettas. Tarek's eyes narrow. Bold words from an outsider who knows nothing of our ways? Maybe that's exactly what your clan needs, Ethan counters. Someone who sees with fresh eyes. Someone who isn't blinded by tradition. For a moment, something like uncertainty flickers across Tarek's face. Then it hardens again into resolve. Dawn, he repeats and walks away, disappearing into the gathering dusk. Ethan stands alone at the cave entrance, watching the first stars appear in the alien sky. He draws the Talon, studying its strange, porous surface in the fading light. The blade seems to drink in the darkness, neither reflecting nor gleaming. What do you want from me? He whispers to it. Why me? The sword offers no answer beyond the dull, persistent ache in his palm, where flesh meets metal. But as he stands there, a strange calm settles over him, a certainty that transcends logic or reason. Dawn will come, and with it, a reckoning. The sky lightens by increments. First a subtle graying at the horizon, then bands of color that bear little resemblance to an Earth sunrise. Purples and deep blues give way to a harsh, yellow-white glare as the local star crests the jagged landscape. The warriors gather on the flat expanse before the cave mouth. They form a circle, weapons held vertically as markers of the boundary. Their faces are solemn, expectant. This is more than combat to them. It is ritual, tradition, the way their society resolves its deepest conflicts. Tarek stands at one side of the circle, already in position. He wears lighter armor than before, optimized for mobility rather than protection. His sword, similar to the Talon but less ornate, gleams in the early light. Ethan approaches from the cave. He has no armor, only the tattered remains of his technician's uniform. The Talon hangs at his side, a weight both reassuring and terrible. His burned hand throbs in time with his heartbeat. The binding cloth now permanently stained with his blood and Kira's. The crowd parts to let him enter the circle. Whispers follow him, some skeptical, others almost reverent. The human who held the Talon, the outsider who broke Vexen's blade, the crippled chief whose hand burns with the sword's judgment. Kira stands at the edge of the circle, her wound bandaged, her posture stiff with pain but unbending. Her eyes meet Ethan's briefly, not encouraging, not discouraging, simply watching. Whatever happens now, she will accept it as the will of fate. Ethan takes his position opposite Tarek. The circle closes behind him. There is no escape now, no alternative, only combat. An elder warrior steps forward, one of the few gray-skinned veterans who survived the battle. His voice carries across the gathering. The challenge is called. Tarek, son of Morek, challenges the right of Ethan Vance to wield the Talon and lead the clan. Combat will continue until submission or death. The elder pauses, then adds, The Talon will judge. Those last words send a ripple through the crowd. They are not part of the traditional challenge formula. The Elder has acknowledged something different about this combat, something unprecedented. Tarek raises his blade in salute, then drops into a fighting stance. Balanced, centered, perfectly poised. Everything about him speaks of lifetime training, of mastery earned through countless hours of practice in real combat. Ethan draws the Talon awkwardly, his movements clumsy by comparison. The sword feels heavier this morning, more reluctant. Or perhaps it's just his own exhaustion, the accumulated injuries and stress of the past days catching up with him. Begin, the Elder commands, stepping back. Tarek moves instantly, crossing the distance between them with blinding speed. His first strike is measured, testing, probing, assessing Ethan's defenses. Ethan barely parries in time, the impact jarring his injured hand. Pain lances up his arm. The crowd murmurs. First blood will come soon, they think. The human cannot match Tarek's skill. Tarek circles, his movements fluid, controlled. He attacks again, a sequence of strikes that drive Ethan backward, toward the edge of the circle. Ethan defends desperately, the Talon moving just enough to intercept each blow. But it's obvious to everyone that he's outmatched. He cannot attack, can only react, and even that barely. You see, Tarek calls loud enough for the crowd to hear. The sword may have chosen him, but it chose poorly. He cannot wield it with skill or honor. He launches another flurry of strikes. One catches Ethan's shoulder, drawing blood. The wound is shallow but painful. Ethan staggers, nearly dropping to one knee. Submit, Tarek demands. Admit you are unworthy. Return the Talon to those who can truly wield it. Ethan straightens, breathing hard. The sword chose, he says, repeating Kira's words from before. Not me. Not you. Anger flashes across Tarek's face. Then let it unchoose, he snarls, and attacks with renewed fury. This time there is no holding back. His blade moves with lethal intent, seeking vital points, driving Ethan relentlessly toward the crowd. A strike slips past Ethan's guard, opening a cut along his ribs. Another catches his thigh. Blood streams down his leg, staining the ground. The Talon feels impossibly heavy now. Each parry costs more effort, sends fresh waves of pain through Ethan's damaged hand. The burning sensation intensifies, climbing up his arm to his shoulder, his chest. Tarek sees his advantage and presses it, his attacks becoming more aggressive, more confident. He drives Ethan back until he's against the warrior-marked boundary of the circle. Nowhere left to retreat. It ends here, Tarek says, raising his blade for the killing stroke. Ethan lifts the Talon in a desperate final defense. The burning in his hand reaches a crescendo, consuming his awareness. Through the pain, he feels something shift. The sword's presence in his mind changing, expanding. Not rejecting him now, but merging, becoming part of him. Time seems to slow. He sees Tarek's blade descending, tracks its arc with newfound clarity. The Talon moves, not by his will alone, but guided by some deeper instinct. The blades meet with a sound like thunder. Tarek's sword doesn't break, but the impact sends a shockwave through it, into his hand, up his arm. He gasps, stumbling back, momentarily stunned. Ethan doesn't hesitate. He presses forward, the Talon suddenly light in his grip, moving as if it's an extension of his will, rather than a physical object he controls. His attacks lack Tarek's technical precision, but possess a raw, intuitive quality that catches the warrior off guard. The crowd's murmurs grow louder. This is not what they expected. The human fights differently now, as if the sword itself guides him. Tarek recovers his composure, meeting Ethan's assault with practiced skill. The two blades clash again and again, neither fighter gaining decisive advantage. But Tarek's expression has changed, the confident sneer replaced by focused concentration. He recognizes now that this is no easy victory. They separate, circling, reassessing. Blood drips from Ethan's wounds, but the pain has receded behind a strange, detached clarity. The Talon hums in his grip, its weight perfectly balanced now. The sword, Tarek says, his voice tight. It aids you. It chose, Ethan replies simply. Tarek's jaw clenches. Then I must prove it wrong. He attacks again, his technique flawless, each strike calculated to exploit Ethan's inexperience. But the Talon responds, guiding Ethan's hand just enough to counter, to survive. Not making him Tarek's equal in skill, but giving him the chance to endure, to learn with each exchange. The duel stretches on. Sweat pours down both fighters' faces. Their breathing grows ragged. Wounds accumulate, minor cuts, bruises, the toll of sustained combat. The crowd watches in tense silence, witnessing something unprecedented in their history. Finally, Tarek makes a decisive move. He feints left, then spins right, a complex maneuver designed to bypass Ethan's guard completely. Against an untrained opponent, it would be fatal. But the Talon sees. The Talon knows. It pulls Ethan's hand into position, not to parry, but to counterattack. As Tarek completes his spin, the Talon is there, its point resting against his throat. Silence falls over the circle. Tarek freezes, his own attack incomplete, the killing blow transformed into vulnerability in an instant. Ethan stands firm, the Talon unwavering at Tarek's throat. A thin line of blue blood appears where the tip presses against skin. One push, and it would be over. "Yield," Ethan says, his voice rough with exhaustion. Tarek's eyes burn with fury, with disbelief, with the bitter taste of defeat. But he is a warrior bound by the code of combat. "I yield," he says. The words drag from him like physical objects. The Talon withdraws. Ethan steps back, suddenly aware of his injuries, of the blood soaking his clothes, of the ache in every muscle. The sword's guidance recedes, leaving him once again just a human technician far from home, holding an alien weapon he doesn't fully understand. The Elder steps forward. The challenge is resolved. The Talon has judged. The warriors begin to kneel one by one, weapons laid before them in gestures of submission. Not to Ethan the human, but to Ethan the wielder of the Talon, the outsider chosen by their most sacred relic. Only Kira remains standing, her expression a complex mixture of emotions, relief, concern, calculation, something deeper and harder to define. She steps into the circle, past the kneeling warriors, past the defeated Tarek, who will not meet her eyes. She stops before Ethan. The crowd stills, watching. This moment, too, is part of their tradition, the acknowledgement of a new chief by the old. Kira's eyes drop to Ethan's ruined hand wrapped in her cloth. Blood, his and hers mingled, has stained it nearly black now. Slowly, deliberately, she takes his damaged hand in both of hers. She lifts it high for all to see. Gasps ripple through the crowd. To touch his burn without flinching is not pity, it is claim. It is coronation. Kira's voice cuts the silence, a phrase that Ethan somehow knows will be remembered for generations. He burned for us. I bleed for him. The clan bows their heads. Weapons lower. Tarek's face twists in disbelief, fury, helplessness. The duel ends without a strike. In that moment, something shifts in the air, a tension releasing, a new reality establishing itself. The prophecy fulfilled, or at least beginning to unfold. An outsider now leads the clan, his hand forever marked by the sword that chose him, and by his side stands Kyra, bound to him by blood and fire, and the weight of tradition. He burned for her. She crowned him in blood,